Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Excellent. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good.
Welcome to the EricSwahnRacing.com podcast. I'd like to just jump right in. Uh,
Yeah,
I believe this is episode number 132 with Jessy McCree. So thanks for coming on and talking to me for a little while.
for sure.
And so we met doing coaching. You took the MSF course, is that right?
Yeah, yeah. I think it was last August.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was that your first time riding, or what was your experience with bikes before that?
Yeah, that was pretty much it. I was just, fresh, took I think it was a 3-day course. Definitely super nervous, but definitely, also excited. So, I had a lot of fun out there.
And what kind of bike were you riding? Do you remember it was a 250 or a 125?
Yeah, it was a 250.
Maybe the Hondas?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, very good. And you're in Michigan. I just moved out of Michigan. I moved to Las Vegas since we talked. So when we set up this meeting, you had put it in person. That's why there was no Zoom link when I first set.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that. So, yeah, no, you guys definitely have better weather than we do. So,
Yeah,
very
I've been
jealous.
out here for a couple months now. I just moved out in January, so it's
Yeah.
April 4th right now. I'll probably edit and post this in the next couple of weeks, put it out there. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's already snowed, I think, 4 times since I've been here. I don't think it normally snows here, so I was kind of like, "What the hell's going on?" I thought I moved away from this stuff.
Right.
What's it looking like there now in Michigan?
Um, the past couple of days it's been rainy. And then like the past few weeks it's been like snow. We've had a couple like nice days, but unfortunately not enough to actually go out and ride. So haven't been on my bike yet, but definitely looking forward to it in the next couple weeks.
So you did get a bike. What bike did you get?
So I got a 2023 Ninja 400 per your recommendation. It's a super cool looking bike. I didn't think I was gonna get a sport bike. I was pretty much like set on getting a Honda Rebel 500 or even a 300. And I was also thinking about getting a Harley Iron 883,
Okay.
but ended up with the Ninja, and I'm super happy with it. I've been on it like literally like around the driveway, and that's like it. So
Yeah. So you really haven't broken it in yet, gotten used to it.
nope, nope, pretty much had it delivered, hooked it up to the battery tender, and put it in the garage because it's the weather's been so crappy here. But
Cold as
um
hell.
yeah, yeah,
Well, I'm excited for you. It's just take it easy your first couple times. It's been a few months since you did the rider course, so you'll be rusty. Everybody's rusty the first time they go out, first couple of times they go out for the new year, even experienced people. Uh,
yeah,
it's it's like playing an instrument, playing a guitar. I like to think about. You can't play a guitar without the muscles to do it, right? Without
exactly.
memory. So it's the same thing for riding a bike. You're not used to slipping that clutch and using that lever or the fine tuning that you have to have with your controls with the throttle or your brake pressure. So as always, take it slow when you're starting, but get comfortable with what your bike can do. Go in parking lots again, whether you take another MSF course with that bike now, or
Yeah.
take the advanced rider course, or even just on your own, just in a parking lot. Practice your swerves, practice your emergency braking. Do it in a safe way, wear your gear, all that stuff. Um,
Hmm.
just test out the limits.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly right. I do plan on taking the advanced rider course once I kind of get a little bit more miles under my belt. But yeah, I'm sure that I'll probably have a couple times where I just like stall and I think back to, the class, and it's like you should probably just do this or do this. So, yeah,
Install like physically stall the bike, or they stall like your tensions.
probably both.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, I've stalled my bike still, and it's like, oh, that
Yeah.
was good. Like, I let out the clutch way too fast. I thought it was already grabbing, and it was not yet. And I mean, those are feels like rookie mistakes, but even
Yeah.
professionals make those mistakes. They get too antsy. They want to get out there or
Mhm.
going, and they're just not thinking sometimes.
Yeah.
So, do you have any questions about riding or newer riders that you are interested about?
Not really. I think my biggest thing that I've done in the time since I've taken my class and right now outside of getting a bike, I've joined like a lot of online like Facebook groups and stuff. More like experienced riders, follow them on, social media and stuff and kind of look at their content and, a lot of people, walk through like their journey and stuff. So I think hearing other people's like paths and stuff has been really helpful. And honestly, like from what I've experienced, like the bike community is like honestly one of the nicest communities that I've like engaged with. In comparison to like the car community, people are like way, way, way less judgmental, like really want to help people. So that's been really cool. Just, talking to people online and stuff. Um, but yeah, I'm really excited to like actually get on my bike, meet some people at some point. Just get better at it. I know I will. It's just like I think getting over that initial like hump and getting over that fear too, is a big thing.
Yeah, I would say go to bike nights. There's a big one going on in Royal Oak usually. Most I don't remember what day of the week, maybe Thursdays. In the spring, summer, fall time. Uh,
Hmm.
that you can go out there, ask a lot of questions, talk to people, see all kinds of tricked out motorcycles from
Yeah.
stock, custom, everything. Um, and we would go out there like once a week for a while and go on group rides, 20, 30 people sometimes. And then you realize after a certain period of time that it depends who you're riding with. If you're riding with a group of hooligans, you get hooked into that and you start being
Mhm.
a hooligan yourself. But after a while, you get to really find out who you want to be riding with, what their style is. Are they running down the freeway at triple digits, or are they taking it easy and
Yeah.
keeping it safe? So I'm sure you'll come up to that real quick because it's very
Yeah.
progressive, and that's something that I did when I first started that actually got me into racing. I got into racing because I got arrested for speeding, and I was like, "I'm doing that anymore. That's done. That's no more of that stuff." And
Yeah.
uh, I decided to go to the racetrack and not ride in the street anymore, and didn't have a street bike, street legal motorcycle for like 10 years or something like that. I just did track only, and I found that I was actually pretty good at this sport at the racetrack. So
Yeah.
I took to it pretty well. If you can ride a motorcycle, you can do track days. And a track day is not something that's super scary to do. I'd recommend anybody who rides any kind of motorcycle to try one out. And you can take your bike to the track. Sometimes you can rent people's bikes. Sometimes you can rent gear if you don't have a full suit, helmets, boots, gloves, back protector. You can usually find someone who will let you they'll lend one to you, or you can rent one. And it's the best place to practice your skills. There's no cars, there's no sand or dirt.
Mhm.
There's usually everybody's going the same way, so it out that there's way less risk. And if you do happen to fall down, there's an ambulance with two people in it running, if not three ambulances, and it'll be there in 30 seconds. So it's like you crash on the street. Hopefully, someone sees you if you fall into a ditch. Uh,
Right.
they do have like those kind of life alert things that you can wear for wristbands if you're out in the middle of nowhere, but still it'll be maybe an hour before they get to you.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I didn't know anything about the racetrack. I was like, well, I don't know any people. I don't know any friends or none of my family goes to the track. I didn't know how to do it. I just
Yeah.
went to forums like the Wera forum and Sportbike Track Time forum, I think was the first one that I found. And just started asking questions like, how do I even get to the track? Where are the racetracks? Like, what do I need when I go to the track? And turns
Yeah.
out I really don't need much. Just a motorcycle, maybe some like water and electrolyte drinks. But you don't need anything fancy on your motorcycle. You don't need race plastics for at least the first couple of times you go in novice. They'll allow you just to tape up your lights and turn signals and your license plate. You can even take the fuse out so it's not lit up behind the tape. but the idea is no glass. You don't want to have any open glass because if you crash and there's glass all over the track.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, if you can afford it, I would highly recommend it for anybody because it's such a learning experience and there's coaches there. I've been a coach for sport bike track time, and we have novice classroom sessions, which we teach you the basics of everything you need to know. And that's how I learned.
Yeah.
And then you just progress from there. Everybody has their own, speed that they want to get to. Some people want to be professional racers. Other people just want to go to the track every once in a while, once
Yeah.
a season. And so you get wide difference in skill groups, which is fine. That's why we have different sessions for different people. Typically on a normal track day, there's 3 20-minute sessions every hour, novice, intermediate, and advanced. So advanced is more like the racer or really fast guys at the track. And intermediate is a wide discrepancy of skill groups between, first day out of novice and people are sandbagging who don't want to go to advanced. But novice is a lot of times first time people, but I've met people who've been in novice for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
So it depends how fast you want to learn and what you want to get to.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, like, again, kind of comparing it to like the car industry and like, motorcycling, like the barrier to entry to like have a track day, like from what you described is like so low. If you're, now that, you work like at a track with like, sports cars and, supercars and stuff, it's like a totally different thing. Like normally people are like, all right, I gotta get my 911 GT3 RS, I've got to get, full, it's just so much more that you have to do before you actually get on the track. But it's just like it's kind of crazy, but really cool that you can literally just have like a 400 like myself and go to a track and get, geared up and start that way.
Probably for about $5,000, you could go to the racetrack. Now,
Yeah.
for a lot more than that, you can spend
Yeah,
as much as you
sure.
want. Yeah, the barrier of entry is pretty low. I would always recommend getting a trailer and trailering your bike to the racetrack because if you happen
For
to have
sure.
a wheel or a mechanical, then you're stranded in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So you can ride to the track. I've seen that happen, but it's not recommended.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if I get to that point, I would definitely, trailer it and do the full thing. But yeah, it's pretty cool that that's, just how easy it is really.
Yeah. And like what you're saying, the bike community, motorsports, motorcycle road racing specifically is very, um, what's the word? Nice to your competitors. Even if you're just at a track day and there's no race going on, like you'll lend parts to your friend or the guy you never met who just happens to be pitted next to you, uh,
Yeah.
and give him the parts that he needs. If you have spares on you, why not? Um, and there's been times where I've lent my direct competitors in the same class in the same race parts so that I could beat them on the track, not in the pit lane. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like an easy thing. Like that's so stupid. Why would I do that?
For
But
sure.
I want to have him out there and battle with me rather than just beat him because he had a mechanical failure or something.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely makes it like more fair and square.
I never had that community in like soccer or hockey or tennis. Nobody's gonna
Yeah,
let a tennis racket because you're
exactly.
right.
Yeah.
So different.
Yeah. So different.
But I think it's because typically the costs are way higher than other sports, and we know these people who are next to us are very dedicated, just like we are, and we've all been in those situations where we need a handlebar or clip on or a foot peg, and it's like, oh, what am I gonna do? I'm so stressed out,
Yeah.
and your friend Johnny over here has 12 of them in his spares box, so it's like, yeah, why not just help him out?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that's pretty cool.
And I think it's also a higher level of respect in that the danger is very high um, because we can all get hurt doing these things. So it's like you have a higher level of respect for everybody around you because yeah, you want to be out there and battle and race close, but also do it in a way that you're not going to injure your fellow competitors.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's one of the things that excites me the most about, this journey that I'm embarking in. It's like you have to be very conscious and, like really like respect what you're doing and respect the bike just as much, and also look out for yourself. It's a lot of like not like mental gymnastics, but like you really have to stay focused and then like engaged mentally too, because you're, getting on this machine that, you're in control of, but it's also like you need to relax yourself and like go have fun in order for it to really like, pay off and be get you that like full experience. So it's really like nothing like you've ever done before. It's different than being in a car where you've got airbags, you've got restraints, you've got glass, like you've got, you're just it's more like natural to like hit a brake pedal, like when you're in a car. But when you're on a bike, it's like you're totally opposite. Your feet are, pretty much static, and you're using your hands and you're moving your whole body to like get around a corner. So um it's again like really nerve-wracking, but really, really exciting.
And so, was there anything that you struggled with when you were taking the course, learning how to ride?
Honestly, I think it was like the mental part of it. I think the first day I did pretty well. Towards like the end of the first day and the beginning of the second day, as we're like, getting closer to prepping for the test, it's like, how to do this. You guys are like, we've done this before. Just focus, relax, go faster, go slower. Like, all of these things how to do. It's just like applying it and like being comfortable in that moment. And I think that's one of the things I'm looking forward to doing now that I have my own bike and I'm in a different like environment and kind of on my own. I can go at like a different pace, but at the same time, it's like a new set of like mental things you have to work through to be like, okay, well, now you're in a neighborhood. You're not in a closed parking lot. You will have to go faster. You will have to get the hell out of the way if someone, was coming up behind you.
Yeah,
Um, but it's like, okay, now I have all the tools in my toolkit, and just like going out there and applying it. I think, that was like my biggest challenge in the class, and probably what I'll have to like overcome. And I think what I'm still working through, just like, okay, go get on the bike, like pull it out of the garage, go get on the bike. It's a nice day, have fun. You want to do this. Um, but yeah, I think a lot of it is really mental.
that's fair. Um, yeah, it's after a while it'll just become muscle memory, and you'll do it automatically without even thinking. You're like,
Yeah,
you shift up to next gear, you just do it, and it'll take a quarter of a second, if not less. And but when you're first starting, it's like, okay, which one do I roll off the throttle, I pull on the clutch, I make the shift. It'll take you like 3 or 4 seconds, but after a
yeah,
while, you get faster and faster, and it'll be nothing. You
yeah.
know, um, my first car was a motorcycle. I bought a motorcycle before I bought a car. Um,
Wow.
so I've been riding, I think, before I was driving a car. So for me, it's like just second nature. Uh,
Yeah,
but for a lot of people, like you started a lot later than I did. So I wouldn't say it's harder to learn. Anybody can learn to ride a motorcycle. It's not rocket
for
science,
sure.
but
Yeah.
to do it efficiently and quickly and like you said, the mental aspect of it is so huge. I think one of
Hmm.
the reasons why I started riding is because it's like a meditation. Even if you're not at the racetrack, even if you're just cruising on your own in the streets, in your suburbs, on the highway, you can't think about anything else. That's
Yeah.
important because
100%.
you have just this fluid flow of information coming at your face, and like you said, you don't have airbags. You don't have this cage around you in a car. So
Yeah.
yeah, you do have your gear on. I always wear gear, uh, but you can still get hurt. Um, and so I wanted to talk about crashing. I'm sure that's a fear of yours, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. I think I did pretty well in my class. I don't think I had any like really close calls. I think during my test, one of the like last few exercises where we had to like speed up, go through the cones and like make an emergency stop. Um, I think looking back, I was probably like in my head, and I think I was applying way too much throttle like towards the end, and I kind of like I didn't lose control, but I was definitely going faster than I should have, approaching a stop,
Yeah.
and um, got it together, passed everything. Um, but I think that was like that little bit was like, oh wow, like this is very real, it can happen very quickly, could have had a different outcome.
Sure.
Um, and I think too, now that I'm, on my own, I'm not like really riding with anyone. I don't have like a coach standing next to me, like, do this, do this. I'm thinking back to, my training that I got from you guys and, from videos and stuff, techniques that I've um learned, it still is like, all right, fully responsible. This is your thing. Like, anything can pretty much go wrong. Um, but I think that also adds to the excitement of it because it's like you can really make or break what you're doing. But crashing is definitely a fear. And then, outside of what you're in control of, being on the road, you've got, cars, you've got, stuff in the street, you've got animals. Like there's just so many variables that come into play.
Yeah, for me it was always it's for most motorcycle riders, it's not about them. I mean, sometimes they're a bad rider, but most of the
Yeah.
time it's everybody else that you got to worry about. I mean, I say almost, but I almost got hit by like 55 cars. If plus, you can't you lose track after a certain period of time because it's like
Yeah.
everybody's trying to hit you. It's like, what the hell is going on? How did a
Yeah.
school bus almost hit me? Like, what is this
Right.
bus doing?
Exactly.
Craziness. But yeah, it's tough. You got to be um aware and alert all the time. You can't just be snoozing and relaxed. It's that's one of the reasons why I like gravitating people to sport bikes is because on a Harley, you're relaxed. You're like sitting back, you're
Yeah.
out for a cruise. You're not alert and attentive. If you're like on the balls of your feet and like looking forward and like crouched a little bit forward, like you're much more in a athletic stance, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that
Right.
totally makes sense. And like when I went to buy my bike, they actually had a Honda Rebel 500, like exactly what I was gonna get. And I sat on it, and it's like, like I'm sitting right now, pretty much just like on a chair, like cruiser style, which definitely there's a time and place for that. But I definitely can see what you're saying, the benefit of being a little bit more athletic. And in a way, I found it like a little bit more ergonomically friendly being on a sport bike. Especially my Ninja, like the tank where it sits is not like super aggressive like some of the other ones
Mhm.
in its class, but still good enough where you're, positioned forward. Um, and your body kind of just is forced to mold with the bike. So I think that will, definitely help me because yeah, like you're saying, you're just kind of chilling back there on a Harley or something. But yeah, I think it's definitely, good that I went with the Ninja for sure because of that.
Yeah, and now one problem, I guess, or one challenge that you have to overcome with a sport bike is now you are putting your weight more forward, in that forward more forward position rather than lazy laying back. So that tends to have people put too much weight on the handlebars. Uh,
Yeah,
think about it in a car. If you're sitting in a car, do you put most of your weight on the steering wheel?
right.
You don't, right? Most of your weight is not, you don't want to have a death grip on that steering wheel. You want to be
Yeah.
able to move it nice and easily without too much resistance.
Yeah,
Without
no, that's a good point.
so you really have to focus on gripping and pinching your legs into the tank way more often. So really, you want to have very little weight on your hands at all times. And even when you're braking, you want to not, tend to push forward with all your weight. Keep that weight
Right.
in the tank and keep your hands loose and light, because you don't want to have too much pressure on those handlebars. It'll create really bad riding habits and actually make it harder to turn. Um,
Yeah.
so just keep that in mind. There's benefits and downsides of everything. So
Yeah,
uh,
for sure.
it's just a writing style thing that you have to get to grips with.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the more time I spend learning that bike because after even 2 days of being on that Rebel 250 during my class, like you know that bike more and you like you figure out all the nooks and crannies and stuff. um so you get used to it and how everything feels. And so it's like, recalibrating yourself to the new feeling of a different bike and stuff like that. And, me being a new rider, not building those bad habits, like you say. So
Yeah. And yeah, it'll take a little bit to get used to. Every bike or every car, every vehicle has its own
yeah,
unique characteristics, benefits, and negatives. You just gotta get to grips with it. The best, most skilled people can adapt within a lap or two or like a couple miles, but uh,
yeah,
sometimes it feels like it takes you a year before you get comfortable on something. If you're just
yeah,
starting, so just take it easy. Don't try to adapt too quickly. You know,
yeah.
it's so talking about crashing again, like I've crashed probably 20 plus times. I think I've lost count by now. But
Yeah.
most of the crashes, like 99% of my crashes have been like not a big deal. Like I've
Yeah.
worn full gear every time. So there's never any skin abrasions, no cuts or scrapes. There's only one time it was a bad day, and that was because I hit a stationary object, 100 plus miles an hour. So
She.
So you just want to try to avoid stopping really quickly is the main thing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
It's not speed that's the problem, it's just stopping really fast.
Stopping and yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, no, talking about gear, that was like, before I think bought my bike, I was buying gear because I was like 100% gonna want all the good stuff, like shoey helmet, like people say like do not cheap out on gear. And even though I haven't been in a crash, knock on wood, I'll stay away from one for a long time, hopefully forever, whatever. But like roll that into the expense of buying a bike. Like I
Yeah,
think that it's super important because it really can save your life and especially like your skin. So
of course. Yeah. Dress for the crash, not the weather, or the
yeah.
there's a lot of sayings about that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
But yeah, I usually wear more gear on my bicycle than most people use on their motorcycle, which kind of irritates me. The guy who knows nothing about riding who's not wearing no gear. I'm like, sure, it's America. Do whatever you want. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying if you want to stay in the sport for a long time and ride at a high level, um, lead by example. Don't be out there riding with t-shirt and shorts and flip-flops, which I did before I knew anything. And then I started riding with a group and they were all wearing like suits. I'm like, you were really wearing a leather suit to bike night? It's like, yeah, the ground hurts just the same as if you're on a racetrack, if you're on the road.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I guess I thought people would make fun of me if I wore a leather suit around. And they might.
Yeah.
Who gives a crap? Like if they're a real rider, they know.
Yeah, for sure. I think people always say ride your own ride, and like that applies, I think, to riding, to gear, to speed, everything. So yeah, I'm not afraid to look like a noob and my all my gear and stuff, but I want to
I
be
don't think
safe.
it's yeah, I don't think it's a noob. I think it's smart. I really think that's the way to
Yeah.
go. Um, some people might call it noob, but like I'm one of the most experienced riders around and I'm wearing all the gear possible because I know what could happen if it goes
Yeah,
wrong.
exactly.
Uh, if I'm on the street, I always do boots, at least jeans, like long pants, jacket, helmet, gloves.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable. Now, I would like to be wearing something thicker on my bottom half. I think jeans really aren't enough, especially when I have a hole in my knee right now. That's not going to do anything. They're going to rip it right in half. So jeans really aren't enough. They make like motorcycle riding jeans that are double stitch and multiple panels of denim or sometimes even padding underneath. Those I would
Yeah.
recommend. A lot of different brands make those, but you just want to keep your skin intact. That's like number one. I don't want to have a skin graft.
Yeah, me neither. I have most of my arms covered in tattoos and I want to keep them there.
Those are
So,
expensive, right?
yeah, super expensive. So, definitely am going to be in gear all the time.
Sure. And is there anywhere that you want to ride to? Is there any specific place that you're looking to go to on the bike?
Um,
Like road
not
trips or anything?
not that I can think of. I'm glad that I got a Ninja 400 instead of a Z 400, and not, being on a bike with like full fairings. So I think I definitely will be inclined to go a little bit further. But I'm sure that I will, come across places either driving a car, and say, hey, like I really want to take my bike here. So I'm sure I'll come across that at some point.
Yeah. I found that the Tail of the Dragon in Tennessee, that was a pretty cool place to go.
Yeah, a lot of people on forums and stuff. I guess that would probably be one. I've seen a lot of people have really good time.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, that's a super dangerous place to ride. It's not really for first timers. I would not.
yeah, I've seen I think as many videos of people like executing it really well, also crashing,
Oh yeah.
just the same amount. So
Yeah, we took a group of guys down there a long time ago. About 20 people. We rented a cabin, stayed there for almost a week or so, and we had probably 4 or 5 guys crash when we were down there out of a
geez.
20 some people. So yeah, it's hectic and people are trying to go fast and starting to take chances and they're not really knowing what they're doing out there. So yeah, you're gonna fall down eventually. You're
Yeah,
like that. Trying to keep up with
yeah,
your buddies who are racetrack riders and you're not.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think yeah, certain places will just not be as forgiving, and all the twists and stuff that I've seen on Tail of the Dragon, it's just got to be super careful.
Yeah. Now, it's like if you crash at the racetrack, you generally end up in a field and you're just pissed off. If you crash at a on a side of a mountain, you either hit the mountain on one side or you go off the other side of the mountain down a
Yeah,
ravine. It's like, and both those things happen. One guy
yeah,
hit the mountain and the other guy fell down the cliff. And that it wasn't really that but much of a cliff, but uh, it was probably like a 40% like grade down, and we had to get a winch from a truck to pull him out.
jeez, that's crazy. My ego would be so bruised after
It was
that.
wild. It was I saw both of them. One of the guy who hit the side of the mountain was right in front, right behind me, and I even told him before. I'm like, if I pull away from you every 10, 20 seconds, I'm gonna look behind and wait for you. Don't try to catch me.
Yeah,
And sure enough, he was like, oh, I can follow him, and it did not work. And the other guy, he was right in front of me, and he just low sided. He tucked the front, and man, I thought I was going to run over his hand. It was that close in front of me. He must been 1 to 2 feet in front of me, and he just washed out the front and just he just disappeared from my sight, just down the
oh
side.
my gosh,
Like, where'd he go? What are you doing?
yeah, that's crazy.
So not ideal, I'd say, but maybe
It
that's how.
happened. I'm sure, both of them learned a whole lot from, that experience. I think anytime you have something, bad happen, it's a good opportunity to learn something. So,
Yeah,
um, you know, definitely an expensive and, more dangerous way to learn, but, nonetheless, you get something out of it, hopefully.
at least you get some motorcycle maintenance and rebuilding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not the end of the world. Are you good with mechanical work?
Um, I'm not the best, but not the worst. I did get, you know, basic like toolkit set that I would need if I pull off my fairings, stuff like that. I will probably take my bike in for at least my like initial maintenance and then try and do stuff myself after that. Just for not even like monetary reasons, but just so I'm like more engaged with the process with the bike, build my confidence on being able to, fix stuff myself if I need to.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree that you should learn at least some of the maintenance. Now,
Yeah.
um, through all the riding that I've done, I've gotten to the point where I can take a motorcycle all the way apart to the frame and rebuild it back to stock, or with the upgrades that you want on it. Now, I'm not going to say I do it quickly. I am not a certified mechanic.
Yeah.
A YouTube certified mechanic. You can learn a lot from just searching things online. How do I do this?
Yeah.
Uh,
100%.
right now, the bike that I rode at the MSF course is actually needs some work, and I've been working on it lately. I just did an oil change to it. I replaced the tail light that was screwed up. That's one side had melted off because it was the right hand rear turn signal was right in front of the exhaust, so it melted off, and
Sounds like
it's
a really bad design.
terrible. It shorted out in the rain one day coming back from a workout class, and so I didn't really touch it because it was coming to be winter time, and I just started working on it in Vegas here a couple weeks ago, and so now it will run sometimes, but it will die and idle. So I've turned the idle screw all the way up to max, and I can ride it. It rides fine. I can go through all the gears, but if it goes too low in the idle, it'll just die on me. So I'm
Hmm.
thinking maybe have to adjust the throttle cable at the throttle area to make it a little tighter.
Sure.
Uh, and then also maybe check spark plugs, try to replace those. Because if it was electrical, I'm thinking maybe that would have been affected. I'm not sure about that. Like I said, I'm not a master mechanic, so might be sounding stupid here, but this is just what's going through my head. And then next thing would be the air filter. Maybe not in that exact order, but
Sure.
um,
Yeah.
do the cheapest things first, and then see if it works. And make sure you always have oil in your vehicle, because if you don't, it's going to be a bad day.
Yes. Yeah. When I was picking up my bike, we did the walk around and they were, basically showing me, just preventative stuff that I should look at every time. And that was definitely at the top of the list. So,
Yeah, if you don't have oil, the engine will seize pretty quickly. Um,
yeah,
my truck died and blew up, not in a uh, visual way.
dramatic way. Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't dramatic, but it just stopped working basically. My timing belt went, and I was like, you know what? I don't know if I really need a new one. And then very quickly, right after, my engine went, became an interference engine, and this was like a couple months ago. I was like, you know what? Do I really need to spend all the money on doing this? And then I was like, oh, well, there's the whole truck.
Yeah.
Feel like such an idiot, but um, sometimes that's how it goes. And
Yeah.
like, if
Hindsight is 2020.
I was a little bit more free with that checkbook on the repair, maybe I'd still have my truck.
Maybe so.
So now I'm in a Toyota Corolla, four-door sedan. It's first sedan that I've had in a long time. I wasn't done driving that truck. I only had like 160,000 miles on it.
That's honestly not bad. But yeah, I know that one had to hurt.
Yeah, could have had 100,000 more on it.
Yeah, for sure.
And now I can't just throw my bike in the back of my car.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, track days are probably out of the question for a little bit until you get a new one.
Yep, or at least a hitch. I mean, I've towed with a sedan before. That's how I went to the track in the first place. I didn't have a truck. I just had it's like a Pontiac Sunfire two-door sedan, and I mean, it didn't like it. It didn't like towing a trailer, but it could do it.
Yeah,
Motorcycle's not that heavy, a couple hundred
yeah,
pounds, but yeah,
that's
it's doable.
yeah,
I just need to get a hitch on this one.
100%.
So so you're looking forward to riding this year. Any other things you wanted to talk about?
Um, Not that I can think of. I will, definitely be in touch, keep you updated on my progress and my writing experience. So just excited to get out there.
Awesome, very good. I always like to have new people getting into the sport. Keep that the wheels turning. Keep
Yeah,
new people coming in. I like it.
for sure.
Um, and so let's see. Just looking through some things here. So, do you follow any racing series?
So I follow Formula One.
Okay.
I am eventually gonna get into MotoGP. Sorry about that. It like cut out.
Yeah, I think it did at my side too. No worries though. So sorry about that.
All good.
So you were saying you're getting into Formula One, maybe MotoGP.
Yeah, yeah. So I followed Formula One for the past, I don't know, maybe like 3 or 4 seasons. I'm a huge McLaren fan. We aren't doing that well this season, but I'm hoping for a comeback at some point.
Oh, but they have cool
Um,
colors.
They do. I love the papaya orange. So, yeah, but they're the team that I root for. But definitely want to get into watching MotoGP, following that a little bit more closely. Um, I'm sure once I, kind of get more into riding myself, it'll be easier. But yeah, mostly Formula One for right now.
So you're a big McLaren fan. Are you watching Drive to Survive? It's captivating.
I
It's
am.
a docu-series.
I am. I am. I haven't finished season 5 yet. It's kind of funny to watch like the current season and then, go back and watch Drive to Survive since it's like, from last season and everything and like rehashing all the stuff that happened. But um I think I'm like 50-50. I'm glad that that series exists because I think it is like way easier for people to like sit and watch Netflix and like kind of get introduced to the sport. Um, but at the same time, it's like you're a reality TV show of like your favorite thing and it like kind of spoils it a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. I find it kind of funny when people say, "Oh, did you watch the race, the last race that happened?" And they're talking about the TV show. I'm like, no,
The
I'm
show.
actual race. Well,
Yeah.
I haven't watched the full series yet. I've watched a few episodes of it, but I think it's
Yeah.
a great thing to get more people introduced. It sounds like um, the attendance is higher than ever at a lot of these events, so that's really good to see. They're getting sold out, 400,000 plus crowds over a weekend is really great to see. It's
Yeah.
the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's pretty insane. Like I don't think a lot of people realize like how big those races are. But yeah, no, Formula One is awesome.
I think it's because it's an international crowd. You got the whole world watching it, not just football fans.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So you get a lot bigger following, and it's relatively small over here still compared to European countries and Asian even, um, like even Middle East. Like I feel like stick and ball sports still vastly dominate the
Yeah.
landscape here. I know it's like March Madness and all. Well, it's not March anymore. Um,
Yeah.
like football and basketball, um, are always on TV. And I'm like, I can watch,
Yeah.
but that's not my forte. Like, where's the racing? Anybody got a racing show on?
I know.
The hockey. I was at the bar yesterday watching the hockey game, and this lady turns it to basketball. I'm like, I was watching that. There's already four TVs that have this basketball game on right next to each other. Why can't you have the
Yeah.
hockey game on?
Right.
I was like, oh, that's frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like um it's kind of good in a way that it's a little bit more low key and like exclusive because there's something really exciting about like staying up till like 1 a.m., for like, watching the Australian GP and like, it brings a new level of excitement versus like, everyone in the country is like sitting down watching this, Super Bowl or whatever. But yeah, no, I definitely hear you.
It's kind of like you found something that's a gem, but not everybody knows about. It's like you want
Yeah, I
to.
just like want to keep it like safe and secret and like but
Most people who have introduced it to motorsports and racing are like, yeah, that's awesome. Like, this is great. Like, I can't say anything bad about it. Most people
yeah,
think when they start, it's like, you're just going around in circles. Well,
yeah.
kinda, but that's just
But there's some twists in there.
that's just like boiling it down to, well, you're just putting a ball in a hoop. Well, right? It's the same kind of.
Yeah,
That's even simpler.
exactly.
But,
Yeah.
so you watch Formula One? Do you watch Formula Two or Formula Three?
No, I haven't. I probably should because, there's definitely some people that are gonna just pop up in the next couple of years from those leagues. But it's always good to see people, veterans of the sport, Hamilton, Alonso still out there really killing it. So, but it's also, just as exciting to watch the newer guys.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I've
yeah,
been trying to watch the F2 and F3 races. It's yeah, like you said, you're gonna find these young kids and you can follow them up through the ranks and you can
yeah,
see them progress and maybe they had a bad season next year, they win the championship. It's like, oh wow, this guy's going somewhere. He finally found it. Uh,
yeah,
it's very similar with the MotoGP, Moto 2, and Moto 3 classes. So you
yeah,
see these children, these kids, these teenagers move up from the ranks, and it's funny. You can see sometimes these people, you're like, oh wow, this kid's gonna go places, and then a couple years later, he wins the world championship in MotoGP. It's like, I told you, I saw that kid
yeah,
years ago. He
yeah,
had something. Um, it's like it's just great to see. So the lower classes for Formula 2 and Formula 3, especially Formula 3, are the youngest kids, so they're the least experienced. Uh,
yeah,
so I was watching it at the Australia round, and it was like a red flag bonanza. It was like every 3 laps there was a red flag. I was like,
yeah,
or not a red, but a safety car,
yeah.
safety cars. So yeah, it's just like, man, these kids can't keep it together. They just going off the track, hitting each other. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Well, you
No,
say
it's
that from the couch, and it's like you get in the car and try that.
exactly. Yeah, I was just gonna say, it's so crazy like how big the sport is, but it's literally like the pipeline. Like people start from when they're like literally 5 or
Younger than that.
even younger, like in go-karts, and then like all the way up, and then it just ends up to a group of like 20 people, globally that are in Formula One racing every week. It's just and like the financial part of it too. It's I think it goes to show like how and I mean, I know MotoGP is not, any less expensive, right? But just the barrier of entry again, like how much it takes to get to a really professional level. So, yeah, it's super exciting to watch every week, but you know, it's literally like people's dreams to do that, and it's just crazy to see someone like dedicate their life to that.
Absolutely. It's inspirational to me because that's kind of where I want
Yeah,
to be. I'm not delusional. I'll probably never make it to MotoGP, starting at my age, but I can
sure.
still compete at a high level in the national series, maybe international if I'm lucky. Uh,
Yeah,
uh, talking about financials, doing track days. So riding on the street, a couple $1,000. You can find a motorcycle today on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace for $1,500, two thousand
for
dollars.
sure.
Get a helmet, a jacket, boots, gloves, another maybe $500. So relatively low to get into the sport. You can get a scooter for like 2 grand, something like that,
Yeah,
brand new. Depends on which one you get. Those Honda Grams are street legal, or the
yeah,
D125s are like maybe $3,000 brand new.
yeah, I think so.
So very accessible, way cheaper than a car.
For sure.
And most of the time, you don't need a 4,000 pound car to drive you around. You need like a 400 pound machine to propel you, right?
Right. Yeah,
It might
exactly.
be harder to use that all year round in Michigan. Because
Yeah.
it's cold half the year. But that's why I moved. One of the reasons why I moved down here is so I can be riding or being at the racetrack almost every day of the year.
Yeah.
And now doing a track day for your first novice session might be a couple $100, maybe some fuel to get there. I always camped and put a tent up at the racetrack, so I didn't ever get
Yeah.
a hotel unless it was snowing, which happened a couple times. Um, and then just some food, which you would normally eat anyways. Uh,
Right. Exactly.
you don't need a crew, you don't need people there, you don't need tire warmers or stands. Just show up and ride. A couple $100.
Yeah.
To get into racing, I would say at least $1,500 to $2,000 per weekend, which would cover
Hmm.
tires and now a small amount of crashing bill here and there, and travel and more fuel, and your entries, your race entry fees, things like that. And that's at the amateur level. To do a professional race, you're talking anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 per weekend just to enter and show up. Based on, crew costs. You have to pay for crew credentials. You have to usually pay your crew to show up and do stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And you're using, instead of maybe 2 rears and a front tire for the amateur event, you're using like maybe 4 or 5 sets of tires, depending on what class you're in. And $400 a set adds up pretty quick.
Yeah.
So pretty expensive to go racing professionally. Even in the US, without traveling across the pond, you're talking, I mean, anywhere from 50 to 150,000 or more to race at a competitive level, trying to fight for a championship in the US. Now, if you're looking to do like international, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars or even millions to compete globally. Like, Formula One, for example, is the pinnacle of the sport where all the technology is developed. So that's hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's huge. Like Formula One is by far the most expensive thing to get into. But even like an Indy car, you're talking probably $10 million. I know
Easily.
Personally who's driven for Indy Lights. He's one of my coworkers, which is like the road to Indy, the next step up. Indy Lights is the one below IndyCar. So
Got it.
even for Indy Lights, you're talking like $1.5 million for a season.
That's so crazy.
And so I don't come from a rich family, unfortunately. Like, so I've done everything in racing that I've gotten so far, from sponsorship and my own 7 jobs or whatever,
Yeah.
So it's like, how hungry are you? How much do you value this sport? How far do you want to go? Actually, just today I had a call with like a sponsorship coach, and so we were talking for a little while, and we have another call on Thursday, and maybe one tomorrow if I can fit it in. But I'm like invigorated.
Yeah.
Because I've been out of racing for a little while. I've been racing other things other than modified sport bikes. Trying to save money. I did a couple seasons of mountain bike racing, a couple seasons of go racing. Kind of got into coaching so I can be back at the racetrack. And now I've coached with 5 different organizations, and it's like, coaching is great, but I really want to be racing full time. Now, how do I do this?
Get there.
On the $150,000 season, maybe plus if I wanted to do it seriously, not work a full-time job. That's not, say, minimum 30,000 would be scraping by, right? So so 180 would be the ideal, high end of it. Maybe even more if I wanted to live luxuriously, over 30 grand, but. So yeah, anywhere from 50 to 180 is really my goal for a season. Like, well, how do you convince a company that their marketing budget is going to be best spent on me and my team?
Right.
So that's the struggle. It's like, there's money out there. Obviously, Formula One, they have millions and hundreds of millions of eyeballs on them, which is why they can demand that money. But like, so there's money out there. So how do I convince a company to invest in me and to put their marketing dollars in me? Because that's what it comes down to. It's marketing for them.
Yeah.
So that's what we've been going over in these calls, just trying to dwindle it down to, like, it's a business transaction. It's not it's not charity. It's not a donation. It's like, I'm providing a real value to you. I have this podcast now with like 100,000 viewers on it. That's not nothing.
For sure.
The social media, something like 30,000 followers. So it all adds up at a certain point. If you had 20 million followers, you'd be able to get whatever sponsorship money you wanted.
Yeah.
So it's like, what is engagement? What do people, are they listening to you by hour 2 of this podcast? Are they still listening?
Exactly.
Out. So just trying to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, no, it's definitely super exciting too. I hope that all of it, like, obviously works out for you, because I think everyone who has a passion about anything, like they want to do that 100% of the time. So yeah, that's it's a lot of work to get there, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah. It's like yeah, I'm just so passionate, I guess you could say obsessed.
Yeah,
Good way. It's like put your obsessions or your addictions into positive things, right? Because
100%.
keep wanting to do it. Like I have all these different avenues of EricSwahnRacing LLC now, whether it's the coaching, the sales, the podcast, the racing, marketing,
Hmm.
writing for different companies, coaching. So it's like I'm just trying to do as many things in this avenue of racing and motorsports as I can.
For
So,
sure.
or let's play on the simulator. Uh, let's watch a race on TV. Oh, I wanted to mention that you can watch if you already subscribed to Formula One. You have access to Formula Two and Formula Three.
Sweet. Okay.
So
Did not know that.
you could already just click on them tonight when you're going watching when you're eating dinner. You can watch a Formula Two race or something.
Yeah.
uh yeah, it's just they also have the sprint races and the qualifying sessions, the practice sessions. I don't think they have every single session, but they have
Yeah.
them. So it's pretty good coverage. They have commentators on it and everything. So
Yeah.
it's cool to watch.
Definitely gonna check it out.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
So do you have friends or family who ride a motorcycle now? Like, how did you get into it? What made you pull the trigger?
Yeah, so my uncle he rode for most of his life. He with his job he rode motorcycles, and he just stopped riding like last year or 2 years ago, more so just for like health reasons and stuff. But he was like really the only one in my family that rode. Everyone in my family is like, no, don't get a motorcycle, it's too dangerous, that whole spiel that I'm pretty sure literally everyone with anyone that they care about in their life, they're gonna tell them to not get one. So I'm kind of the oddball out, the next generation in my family, I guess, to get a bike. Don't have any friends really who ride. A couple coworkers, but that's it, and they ride Harleys. So it's pretty much just me literally barking on this like solo adventure, which again makes it more exciting. And I think I'm even more passionate about it because it's literally me doing something 100% on my own, for the first time, just figuring it out. Um, So yeah, I think part of it comes from me being a car enthusiast. Again, talking about the barrier of entry, it's way easier for me to go get a brand new Ninja 400 off a dealership than, to go buy a 70,000, $80,000 Camaro. One I can do and, at my current state in my life versus one I'm gonna have to save, 3 to 5 years for. Um, so that's kind of like what it came down to. I was like, I really want to like capitalize on my younger years, I guess, and do something fun and exciting for me, without it really breaking the bank. And being on a bike, you're just, again, like we talked about, you're way more connected, way more into it. So it was just kind of like, let me just do something I've never done before, something I know I'm gonna like because I like cars, I like going fast, I like racing and motorsport. So just pulled the trigger.
Sure. And so it sounds like you're going through it the right way. You know, I had the same, you're never getting a motorcycle speech. You're gonna kill yourself. And
Yeah.
so, I took the approach of, well, I'm gonna show you that I can do it the right way. I'm gonna take the course. I'm gonna take the
Mhm.
basic rider course. I'll do the advanced one, and I'll wear all the gear. Well, I didn't start doing that, but like I eventually was like, I'll prove people
Eventually did.
the safe way, not be a squid, and so it sounds like you're going through the same kind of path, doing the safety stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And I thought about it for a couple years before I even signed up for the class. It probably took me a year of mental gymnastics and thinking about it before I even, registered. And then it's been since August, from when I finished the class to pretty much when I got my bike at the end of February. So, um, it's definitely, something I was like, all right, I need to just go and do this because I can think about it for another year and let time go by. But I think I was also like really intentional about it too, because I think I have a respect for, all the good, the bad, and the ugly that comes with, being on a bike and stuff.
That's fair. And so you talked about your uncle getting out of it for health reasons.
Hmm.
I did want to say that, did you know, pretty sure this is a fact, I didn't make this up, that riding a motorcycle is technically good for your health because the high vibrations will increase your bone density.
I did not know that fact. That's actually pretty cool. I
I mean,
mean,
they have those things at the gym, right, that vibrate you like crazy. You hold on
yeah,
and they go, that's like the same thing.
yeah. I was talking to someone on the sales floor where I got my bike at the dealership, and she had taken the MSF course, the basic rider course. And we were just talking about like even after a couple days, like how your body like, you're using muscles you've never used before. You're like you're squeezing the tank and you're, leaning over and you're like using your foot in a way that you've never used it, like all of the tiny like physical movements that like go into, being able to like smoothly ride a bike and put everything in concert. um it's, I think, a lot more physical than people think, even on like a cruiser like a 250 like we were riding in our course. It takes a lot of like getting used to, but a lot of like muscle and, and grip. So it's not surprising that it can help extend your life in a way.
Yeah, people think, oh, well, you're just sitting down on a motorcycle, right? Why would you be tired? Well, it's not the same thing. You're not really just sitting down the whole time.
For sure.
And so, can you talk about what it's like to be a Black woman in the industry? There's not a ton of you out there who are riding motorcycles.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in the motorcycle industry and the car industry, I think just being a minority in like any space, you've got to either like, I think the best thing you can do is just embrace it and just like honestly like be yourself. I think there's like, the pressure that you feel to like, be the best because you're different. Or, you have to like overcompensate. I think that can like really cloud your judgment. So for me, I think the best thing I can do is like go through the motions, go to the training, be patient with myself, be open to like learning, and not try and like just internalize and be like, okay, well, I'm different than a lot of the like rest of the people riding, so I'm just gonna like go off and do my own thing and like I've got to do XYZ. It's just like I'm starting out, just as fresh as anyone else would. Um, so in a way, like blending in definitely has its advantage. But I think, it's also important, to recognize who you are. And, I'm in a really good position to be able to like have the things I have and like to be starting this sport and going on this journey, and hopefully, even if it's as simple as like I'm going down the road and there's a kid in their car seat and they see me and they wave and they're like, 10 years down the line, they're like, wow, there was someone out on the road who looked like me, doing this thing, in a space that maybe didn't have the same amount of like representation. So, it's definitely pretty cool. But again, I don't think I'm any better or worse off than anyone else starting out.
Yeah, that's fair. I would even say like if as long as you have a tinted visor and you maybe like wear a small neck scarf, no one would even know your
Yeah,
race or your gender.
for
Uh,
sure.
it's like you're putting on a gladiator suit and you're invisible.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good point. I don't think I've put on all of my gear together yet. I've just kind of like got my helmet, test fitted it, got my jacket, test fitted that, shoes, stuff like that. But that is kind of like the nice thing. You can kind of be like incognito and just like get on your bike and just, no
Yeah,
one would know.
yeah. I
Yeah.
kind of like that about that. I feel like I'm hiding in plain sight.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's gonna be hard to hide on a, bright green bike, but I'll do my best.
Yeah, I mean, just do you. I love Kawasaki brand. I've had 5 of them so far and 1 Triumph. So
Got it.
I'm a big Cowie fan. I got 2 in the garage right now.
Yeah. Do you have plans to fix up or I guess race your race bike again anytime
Yeah, the
soon?
race bike is in full working order. When I moved to Vegas a couple months ago, I did have to leave my trailer uh, in Michigan.
Yeah,
So I don't have a trailer and I don't have a hitch on the current car that I have. But my goal is to get a pickup truck in an indefinite amount of time. I don't have a date on that,
sure.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely want to. I've been at the track quite a bit this year already. I did I did 7 days of on track coaching, um, riding a BMW S1000 RR at
Sweet.
Las Vegas Motor Speedway and Streets of Willow Springs, um, at Willow Springs. So that time I got to use their bike instead of had to bring my own, which was really nice.
Yeah.
Um, at the moment, I don't have any set concrete plans to be racing my ZX6R Kawasaki. Um, man, that bike's 15 years old now. I can't believe it. Uh,
That's so crazy.
and you don't even need to have a nice new race bike to go to the racetrack. People race vintage bikes that are 50 years old all the time.
Yeah,
Need to be doing a lot more maintenance to them, but you can still
sure.
race them and have a lot of fun on them. So there's no real year that it has to be. But right now, I'm kind of focusing on saving money, saving.
Yeah.
I want to buy a new vehicle, so maybe I could trade this one in, and then if I can work on the sponsorship money, who knows? Maybe I'll be racing in 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
If I can find, really would like to have, like I said, at least 50 a year. Would be a competitive season. I've never had 50. I've always
Yeah.
done it on a shoestring budget. Like just trying to barely make it to the track and sleeping in a tent at the end. When everybody's going back to a hotel, I'm like,
Well, see you guys tomorrow. I'll be here.
yeah, I kind of, you know what? I kind of like it because you get to wake up at the racetrack and you don't have to drive anywhere.
Yeah.
Save money on gas, save money, save time. I would maybe like to be in like a camper or like a motorhome way down the line would be
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Something a little bit more luxury than a tent.
Yeah. Less rustic.
So sometimes it rains and you get rained on inside your waterproof tent. That definitely happens. But
Yeah. That
I'll do whatever it takes.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think again, whatever you're passionate about, like being willing to like rough it out for a little bit to get to the bigger goal, definitely respectable for sure.
Yeah, an ideal goal would be next year or even maybe late this year if I do a couple expert races and get back up to speed. Would be doing Moto America. I really want to do professional racing with the super sport class, which is now the 750cc bikes. Um, I believe that I could qualify and compete at a high level for every racetrack.
For
Uh,
sure.
Now, the first couple of years, maybe I'll be top 15 would be the goal. But eventually, yeah, I'd like to win the championship and see as much as I can do and move up from there. I've been
Yeah.
600s and 1000s, and I'll ride just about any class.
Yeah. What is from the point of view of a more experienced rider, um like the jump from like 600 to like 750 to 1,000, like is it really as dramatic as it kind of sounds, or like what?
It depends. It depends on the machine. So I haven't been on a 750, but I can say the 2023 BMW S1000 RR is a phenomenal machine. It is extremely forgiving.
Mhm.
It has, well, it depends what mode you're in. The BMW has many different modes. Like Let's see. It will have a rain mode, a road. I think it has a dynamic, and then a Race Pro 1, and I think a Race Pro 2 mode. And all of them have different characteristics for your brake pressure, your it will even link your front and rear brakes in rain mode.
Wow.
To a more dynamic stopping power. It will cut your power if you're leaned over really far and you give it full throttle. It will not give you full throttle in rain mode. The traction control is different in different modes. So honestly, the first time I rode it was I was pleasantly surprised. I was a little nervous actually getting on this bike for the first time, and then right away I was like, "Oh, this is not so bad." Like, I felt I put it in rain mode just to start out, just the base one, even though it was dry, and let's just slowly work our way up through the modes, and we also it was very cold. It was like 45 degrees, so low grip temperatures, but no, it was great, and I even found in rain mode. I was like full throttle and is limiting me on the straightaway. I was like, man, I can take it out of this mode. I'm done with that one. Let's move on to the next.
Yeah.
Moved up to I think it was dynamic for a little while, but yeah, it felt great. It's now if you have like an R1, a little bit more aggressive on the power delivery. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's a high side machine, but it's way more likely to spin up the rear tire than the BMWs in my experience.
Sure.
So yeah, even the Kawasaki's, the ZX10s, I would say are maybe between the aggressiveness of the Yamaha and the BMW. And since I would never really say this, but since the BMW has such great electronics and limiting your power, it's maybe acceptable for a new rider to get on one of those because it's so friendly. It's so user friendly.
Yeah.
In this coaching company that I was working with, they said when they moved up to I think it was ZX6Rs, the 600cc, the BMW S1000 RRs, their crash percentage rate dropped by like 33%.
Wow.
I was like, are you kidding me? Like, how is that possible? I said, do you think that they're respecting the vehicle more, or that it's just a better package for the student? He was like, it's just a better package all around. So maybe it's a little bit of both. I'm not sure, but yeah, I would always recommend people start on the smallest CC machinery that you possibly can, because I feel like you'll learn faster. There was a guy, Al, who I always raced against, and he was on a 1000 and I was on a 600. And every race event, I would be 2 to 3 seconds faster a lap than him, because he had a bike that he couldn't use all the power. He couldn't get the power to the ground as fast enough. And I was full throttle and he was still trying to manage that throttle, so
yeah.
When you get into the professional ranks, yeah, it's a little different. They can use that power and they're going to smoke you if you're trying to race against them. So it also depends on what track you're at. If you're at a track that has super long straightaways, you're going to get killed by a 1000.
For sure.
But if it's a track like Grattan Raceway or a tight, twisty circuit with elevation, you can compete.
Yeah.
So, but is there anything else on your mind you wanted to talk about today?
Not that I can think of.
All right, very good. Well, that's about hour 15 so far.
Cool.
It's that little blip. I must have lost something there, but it's
been
talking to you. Like I said, I'll
get for sure
in the next couple of weeks, and it'll be on YouTube and Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, all those things.
All the things.
Things. All right. Well, keep it in at least one wheel unless you're jumping it.
I got it.
All right. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.